Howdy everyone, Matt here, Matt the PT, coming at you once again with another video on another topic. But first and foremost, I'd like to say thank you to everyone who has subscribed to the channel. Thank you so very much from the bottom of my heart. It means a whole lot to me that you hit that subscribe button. Also, thank you for all the likes and the comments. And please, if you enjoy this video, hit that like button, thumbs up down there. Also, if you have any comments, opinions, beliefs, or anything what I talk about, please share them. I think it's very important to have a conversation because you can walk away with a different point of view, a different understanding that it can be so beneficial to do so. But what I'd like to talk about is something that I know, and using my own frame of reference of just really what I have seen is what I use for some of this, about a physical therapy union. And I would say from my frame of reference, I see like this kind of comes up every so often. And the first time I really saw it was probably 9-10 years ago when a lot of the productivity standards was really being talked about. That, the big thing was, people say, hey, we have a 96 productivity, standard, or a 98 productivity standard. And people were saying that is not right. I'm not going to be able to provide good care. And, I could lose my job over this. And, that's just, and they were very scared and worried about it. And they said, we need a union to help fight this for us, to fight this problem and, to help us. And I was like, oh, I could see that. But it seemed like the talk died down. Then, of course, during the pandemic, there was quite a bit of talk about we need a union for protection. And I see that people were getting laid off. They were getting furloughed. They were having to reuse PPE. I know people that had to reuse PPE for like a month because their employer was not providing it. I heard stories of people testing positive and, have been treating patients, and their employers were like, no, you don't have to tell anybody. So there was a lot going around, and people were expressing to say, hey, we need a union. If we had a union, we would have protection in this pandemic, which thinks, needed protection. And also, seeing here lately, now I know I talked past couple of weeks about the getting insurance money, getting better rates from insurance companies, and somebody expressed we need a physical therapy union to help get better rates from insurance companies. And that really kind of sparked, again, a lot of the short discussion there. People were kind of all over the place, but I want to talk about that a little bit more because I really posed the question to that person. How is a union, physical therapy union, going to go to someone like Blue Cross or Cigna or United Healthcare or Aetna and tell them you're going to pay more for this service on it? And that's what they consider physical therapy a service. How are they going to tell them you have to pay more for this when that union has no tie to them? And I've said in the past, I have some experience with unions. I've never been in one. My undergrad is in business management, so of course courses on labor relations. Family members who have been part of trade unions, who have dealt with unions. There were trade unions, like I said, management, dealing with unions, been having negotiations and things like that. So I've seen it. But I see like the unions, they do have their place. They do provide a lot of protection to employees. I think a union would have been very beneficial during, the pandemic with people, using PPE, getting, unfairly laid off and furloughed, providing some form of protection for us. I do think that would have been very beneficial. Like I said, I also think that it could help with the productivity standards, that coming in and saying, no, your demands are going to be unreasonable. Because I know one example, I did a little, PRN work in a nursing home, and they wanted like a 98% productivity rate, meaning that 98% of the time that you're there that you are having to bill for the service. And it was just really ridiculous, because it's like from the time you clocked in, like you couldn't review a chart. You couldn't walk to the patient's room. What if you went in there and they were, in the cafeteria? So then you had to turn and walk down there. You couldn't, they were telling me like you couldn't bill for those times because you're not providing a service during those times. And I know people are going to get in doing these gymnastics over like, well, you can bill because your thought process. I'm not getting into all that. But I could see with, saying, hey, this is really unreasonable, because you need to have time to review the chart. You need documentation time. And then kind of going with that, putting documentation time, so we're not having to do notes and stuff over lunch and that you could possibly put in time. But really, I pose that question. What would a union do to help us get better rates? And this person was like, oh, they would negotiate with the insurance companies. Really? How? Because like, are they going to go for each clinic in there? Well, what if a clinic was split and the clinic had, only one or two people that was in the union and the other, people were not? What if it's different states, things like that, different settings? How would that work? Also, with the union not having a tie to that health insurance company. Now, I get like if a union is in a manufacturing plant, that they have some pull. They're going to protect the workers, and if the workers are being treated unfairly, of course they can go on strike and say, hey, we're not going to work. Say that, okay, yeah, but how is it that like, we are going to have any recourse against the health insurance companies? We're going to say, okay, no, we're not going to we're going to go on strike and not see any of your patients until you pay us, better rates. I would see an insurance company going, oh, okay, we don't have this expense anymore. We have to pay out for physical therapy services. Oh no, we're going to save money. And then heck, the insurance companies could, like I said, use that against us to say, oh, look, these therapists want more money from us, so we have to jack up your rates on it. So I don't see that really would work very, very well. And an honest thing, the big employers out there, hospitals, the big box places, they're already talking to those health insurance companies. They're already negotiating and talking with them. And that was something I brought up to this person to say, hey, that's already happening. Those bigger places, you just think they're just letting them do that? Like, no, they have reps and people that communicate with one another and talk with them about those things. It's the small ones that are hard because they can't really negotiate. They can't talk with them that much. But, the big players, yeah, they're talking with them quite a lot. This person also that was bringing it up said, well, they would do lobbying and advocating. Kind of already have that as well. Now, I know everyone's feelings about the APTA. Well, maybe not everybody's, because some people are like they're doing as much as they can. Other people are like they don't do diddly squat on there. They are advocating. I have volunteered with my state APTA chapter wherever I've been. I've talked to people on the national level. They do a lot of advocating. They do a lot of that already. And it may not be evident. You may not be just like slapping us in the face with it and really, really seeing it, but they are. They're talking to representatives, and they're talking to these people a lot, very, very often. Probably should do a video on that, because again, I've had to do some work. I actually got a bill passed once, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of talking, a lot of favors, a lot of stuff that really, really goes on. And you're trying to get somebody to do something and to change their mind on it. And really, again, how could a union come in and do that. Now, I will say part of that as well is, you say, look, well, unions do that, like Teamsters are big ones. And my grandfather was a Teamster. But like, they can go in and talk. Well, but you got to think about it. If we start a physical therapy union, we have to start from the ground up. And how many people are going to join? Because I'll be honest, on this talk about unions, I don't see a lot of people who really, really support it on there. That they don't really support it. They don't understand that, no, this isn't going to be something that really helps us. They kind of lean on the other side, like we don't really need it. Maybe that's because a lot of these questions have not been answered. But I mean, looking at that to see like, okay, out of, we have almost 600,000, PTs and PTAs in this country, I think, of that total. I'm probably off in that whole total. That's the number I've seen. But like, what percentage of them can join? Of course, you can't have management that joins. Management can't be in a union. And then what percentage of whoever's left are going to join? Well, also, you've got to raise money for any kind of lobbying and doing stuff. You have to raise money on it. And how long is that going to take to raise a considerable amount of money? And also, this is a big thing people don't realize, to get anything done legislatively, you've got to call in a lot of favors. You got to ask for favors and things like that. How long would it take for us to build that up where these things could actually happen? So my whole point about all of this is, I don't know if it's a great idea. Really. I honestly don't. And I really ask these questions, and I would like them answered, because I feel like this is something that if we are not careful about it, that if we dove into it and said, yes, we need to do this, we need to have a physical therapy union, we need to dive in and do that, is it going to be something like the doctorate, the DPT, where so many of our members say that this is the worst decision, should have never done this, we spent all this effort. Are they going to turn around and say that about something else because we did not come at this from every single angle and answer all of these questions to see this a good idea, or do we already have something that's in place, which somebody pointed out, well, do you think the current status quo is working? Well, how long is it going to take it to change, honestly, by throwing a union in there? How long? I really honestly want to know, how long would that take? And I would guess it would take years, and we would have to get so many people a part of it. And again, when it comes down to dues, and I didn't mention this, that's money out of your paycheck, that goes into it. And with how the economy is now, paying back student loans and things like that, would people, heck, they can't afford an APTA membership. Are they going to pay dues to a union and then feel like that union, that they're getting any benefit from that union? So there you go. Like I said, I just don't want this to be something that we just dive into to think, that we're only looking at the good thing about it. We're only looking at all the possible positives about this. The only thing everyone's looking at, and they're just focused on that. They're not answering these other questions and not playing devil's advocate on it. And it turns around and it bites us in the rear on it. So let me know. Let me know your thoughts, your opinions, your beliefs, any of that. Let me know. I want to talk about this. I want to really, really understand this, because if it turns out like, hey, we're really answering these questions, we're breaking this stuff down, and it's like, hey, this could actually be something very, very good. Yeah, I think people could really get it on board. But if it turns out it's something that's like, well, we could do this. Well, what, this is already here. We already have this, and we already got that. And then it could turn into like, well, okay, maybe that's not the best idea. We maybe need, something we already got. We just need to put more effort and focus into it and really, really help that. So let me know. And of course, if you like this video, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your patients, and I'll see you next time.